Good day, good folks. You are listening to Talk That Keeps You Woke. And with your awakening, we hope that you will take in the information and knowledge we provide. So make sure you like and subscribe while you hop on this ride as we inform, persuade, entertain, and engage in discussion. Welcome to Pot Liquor Podcast, which is knowledge to feed your soul. I make up one half of Pot Liquor. I go by Dr. A, the inquisitive one, a great debater, Mr. Slow Talker, a rhetorician, and an all-around nice guy, and a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. The other half of Pot Liquor is my homie, my dear friend for more than 30 years, Kim Parker Jackson Esquire, the legal one, Mrs. Creativity, never obnoxious, the gifted one, a terrific lady, and a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Okay, we are back better than ever this glorious Sunday. Weather is nice. Welcome back, partner. How are you doing today?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I am well. My week was good. And how about yours, Dr. A? How are you?
I just feel happy today. Went to 2 church services and saw my grateful lady sing in lead songs today in front of a mass audience. And, you know, I'm feeling kind of good today. And welcome to everybody that is a loyal listener to Pot Liquor Podcast. And if you are a loyal listener, you know we start our show, our podcast off with the wow of the week. This one comes from a familiar person, maybe not familiar to most, but familiar to us, Stephen Biko. And he states the oppressor's most potent weapon is the mind of the oppressed. He is simply telling us that the folks that are captivated in systemic racism and white supremacy and follow along with that, that is our mind, and the oppressors count on that behavior and that mindset so they don't have to use much force. What say you, partner?
I agree wholeheartedly. And that's why we have to stay woke, as they say. And I believe if you can convince oppressed people that they are inferior, you can continue to exert power, influence, and control over them. And that's the way it works in America, because Black people in America are programmed to believe that we are inferior and that we are not equipped to be leaders. And we are where we are in our society because we're not smart enough, we don't work hard enough, and we know that those are all lies. But people like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis think that if they repeat a lie enough times, that we will eventually believe that it is the truth. But I say your mouth ain't no prayer book. And just because people in high places say things does not mean that they are true. And that is why we have to remain woke.
I couldn't have said it better. I totally agree with you. And that is our words of wisdom. Our wow for the week from Brother Stephen Biko out of South Africa. The oppressor's most potent weapon is the mind of the oppressed. All right, before we get into what's going on, we will start with our first plug of the week. And that is Vaseline Intensive Care. For our ashy brothers and sisters, this is a great product that I use on a regular basis. It hydrates the skin, is very soothing, and there's a lot of ingredients inside of this lotion that is very beneficial to the skin. So Vaseline Intensive Care Cocoa Radiant Lotion.
And let us move on.
Oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
So
yeah, what's going
What is going on this week? So, a big question after the affirmative action ruling by the Supreme Court: how colleges are going to factor race in without asking about race. So, we know that the Supreme Court has done away with affirmative action or selecting someone based on race. Um, Institutions in colleges. This was it was Harvard and University of North Carolina, I believe, um, that they can no longer use race as a factor. But in articles all this week, they were saying, well, there are different ways that we could use race to help benefit minority folks to get into PWIs, which are predominantly white institutions. So, what is your thought process on this part?
Well, I think that although the Supreme Court basically overturned affirmative action, they did sort of leave a blueprint for how you could factor race into the admissions process without making it a factor in the admissions decision. And that sounds kind of like semantics. But Chief Justice John Roberts said in the majority opinion that colleges can still consider applicants' discussions of how race affected their lives, so long as that discussion is concretely tied to a quality of character or a unique ability that the particular applicant can contribute to the university. So I think the good news is that colleges are trying to find a workaround and trying to figure out how they can still diversify their classes without totally directly relying on race as a factor. So, there's different ways to do it. And I think, for example, schools are, although they're being advised not to publicly state what they plan to do because they want to protect themselves from liability. I mean, this is all new and people are still trying to figure it out. So I think schools have been advised not to speak publicly about what exactly their plans are. But one school in particular, Sarah Lawrence College in Bronxville, New York, they're going to just basically mirror the words that Chief Justice Roberts used in his in the majority opinion. They're going to use that to sort of tailor their essay questions that they have on their college applications. They're going to tailor it to mirror the language that he used. And to me, that's probably the safest way to do it, because then you're complying with the law. For example, one of their questions is going to be drawing upon examples from your life, a quality of your character, and or a unique ability you possess. Describe how you believe your goals for a college education might be impacted, influenced, or affected by the court's decision. So that question on their application comes directly from the majority opinion. So, that's an easy way to sort of stay within the bounds of the law and still try to, once you get, for example, a student to speak about their experience being a particular race, that is going to sort of give you a window into the character of that person, the obstacles that they may have overcome in their life. And they could use that as, a determining factor on whether or not they want this person to be a part of their school community. I think that's great. For example, if they've overcome, racism, a racist event in their life, that's a person who is going to, have a person of high moral character, if you will. So that is someone that you would want to have as part of your campus, and then you would have, a diverse applicant. So, and then they're also making changes in the way they recruit diverse applicants. For example, they're going to try to attract more applicants by, maybe having arranging campus visits, or reaching out and telling people about scholarship opportunities, which is also going to, attract a diverse group of applicants, even if it's diversity in socioeconomic status. So the bottom line for me is, I think that this is good news, because it shows that schools are really putting a lot of thought and effort into how they can still create a diverse class, and without violating the law. So what do you think?
I teach at separate institutions. I teach at a HBCU and I teach at a PWI. And I feel like, let's just talk about the PWI. I teach at Texas A&M University. And I will say that most students don't concern themselves with this. If you force them into a conversation, they will say, yeah, everybody should be treated fairly. But as long as they get into the institution, that's all that matters to them. Most of them are not jumping up saying, hey, we need more African Americans, more Hispanics, more Asians at this particular institution. It doesn't mean that they don't want more there. It's just that that is not their first concern. I also believe it is hard, and we'll talk to our guests today about this. It is hard for some of these gifted students to come to an institution, a PWI, and, visitation and recruitment and having them come to the campus is not always a glorious thing. Because if I'm an African American, which I am, and I come to a PWI, I'm saying, where's the blackness on campus? What area of the campus am I going to feel comfortable? Why am I happy to be here? These are supposed to be 4 years of four of the greatest years of my life. And I'm not seeing it at this institution. There's no black culture going on here. So why would I want to be here? As a faculty member, it's different. My school days are over. I'm working. So if it's an all-white school, all-black school, doesn't matter as much to me as far as, well, I'm not going to teach here because there are not enough black students, or I'm not going to teach here because there's not enough white students. I go in to do a job. I love teaching human beings, period. So the faculty is different. What would stop me from teaching at a school at Texas A&M or moving up to a place like College Station is just the place itself. Would I want to raise kids there, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of things that go into wanting to teach or wanting to attend these universities. I just didn't understand why our institution, which is Texas A&M University, had to follow along the lines of eliminating DEI. I know the state said it, and affirmative action. It just doesn't make sense to me because you hardly have any African American students there.
But don't you think that you mentioned as a teacher, you don't spend a lot of time thinking about the makeup of the student body because you're focused on doing what your job is, and that is to teach. Don't you think that there are some students who have a similar mindset? There may be some African American students or other students of color who may think, okay, I am here to get an education. I have a social group maybe outside of this school, or I can find my own, cultural experience or cultural affinity, within the campus on my own. Like, I don't need that in the university overall. So
I feel if you choose to go, if I feel as a black student, or a minority student, if you choose to go to a PWI, you need to ingratiate yourself with the dominant culture at that institution. So I often ask,
Why?
hold on, let me finish. I often ask African American students, why did you choose Texas A&M? And they quickly say, oh, that network. That network is powerful. My reply to my black students is, you know that network is white, right? That's a white network. So while you're here, make yourself known on the campus, talk to and socialize with these white folks. A lot of the white students are scared of the black students. I've heard this in class. I don't know how to approach them. I don't know what to say to them. They're just going to be angry at us. You can't win. So they have all these preconceived notions about black bodies at the institutions because they're not getting to know African American students or Hispanic students. I had one student tell a crowd in the classroom, like, she started crying in my classroom because she didn't know to come in and sit next to a black at a forum, to sit next to a black student or walk away. She thought if she sat next to him, there's a possible danger. If she walks away from that seat, then she's treating him like he is a threat and a violent person. So she was stuck. So I would say, just sit down and introduce yourself and say hello. They're human just like you are human. But if you have little interactions with African Americans or other underrepresented minorities, you may think this way. You may develop this phobia or this stigma or this stereotype about black bodies and treat folks as such.
I think I just disagree with your position that if a black person chooses to go to a PWI, they have to ingratiate themselves to white people. Like, I just disagree with that because, first of all, and you ask, why would a black person want to go to a PWI? A lot of times a black person will choose to go to a PWI because they want that, especially with the Supreme Court decision, they want the prestige of a Harvard University on their resume. They want the prestige of that degree from that Ivy League institution or that highly selective institution, if you will. And that's why they go. And
it's a white prestige.
There is what was that?
It's a white prestige.
I know, but the point is that's why a black person would want to go to such a school. And then the network is not only there, there's also a black network there, because you will find that at PWIs, black people you will find a black community there that will sit together. That's the whole
Harvard
phenomenon. That's the whole phenomenon with the cafeteria situation, where you'll go to the cafeteria and there's the black table with all the black students.
Right.
So that is a community within a community, and you will also have that as your network. So
but you're still dependent. If you go to Harvard, you're still depending on a white corporate structure to hire you because you went. You're telling that white corporate structure, oh, look at me. I went to your institution and I excelled. So I'm a different black. That's what you're basically trying to say, because because you're looking for that prestige, that white supremacy to get you into these corporations.
Well, the fact of the matter is that they do get people into those corporations. It works, but that's not the only way. Do you see what I'm saying? You can, to me, the student makes the difference. So if you are a fabulous person that is going to do amazing things in your life, you're going to do those things whether you go to an HBCU or whether you go to a PWI. Because you have to have more than just a prestigious degree. I mean, everybody knows somebody with a prestigious degree that has a mediocre career. You know what I mean?
I say
So
if
it
you're going to
depends on
go
that
to
person's
if
determination, that person, you know what I mean?
if you
Grit.
go to those
all that.
institutions, take advantage of the advantages.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
I'm
So
not
I
mad at
don't
it.
understand why students at Texas A&M, they come to Texas A&M and then they don't want to take part of any of the extracurricular activities that are not all Black organizations. And then you're saying, well, I'm coming there for the network. Like when I walk out, they'll see like, oh, he attended Texas A&M University. Right. And, I'm down here in Texas, so the kids in Texas feel like Texas A&M rings across the country. And I always tell them it's regional. You go to New York and Maryland, Texas A&M is not going to ring louder than the University of Maryland. It's just not, because most of the folks in the state of Maryland probably went to the University of Maryland. So don't get me wrong. I went to the school. I got a fine education, and I'm happy that I did get the education. But as far as like the recruitment and everything at Texas A&M, I don't look at it like, oh, I went to Texas A&M University. I just look at it like I achieved a PhD. Harvard, the Ivy Leagues, I get you. That's a different institution. That's a different stigma. If you go to the Ivy
Stigma?
Leagues, that's that positive stigma. Like he went to an Ivy League, she went to I graduated from an Ivy League, or Rice or Stanford or UVA, any of
Right.
those institutions. It's just like,
Those
wow,
are prestigious schools, right?
those are
And it's
prestigious
impressive. It's
institutions.
impressive. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you are trying to get into the C-suite of a major corporation in America and the person doing the hiring may have gone to that particular school, you are going to get looked at because of the name on your resume, right? The name of the school that you went to. People, just equate it with prestige and
So what are the schools going to do to bring in these Black students? There's no more affirmative action. How do you bring in these Black students? So let's save that for our guest. I think she may have some words to say about that.
Let us move on.
Oh, I thought you were bringing in the guest.
All right, next up is a horrific story. Northwestern football. Northwestern should be together, not separate. But the hazing that went on at this institution is horrific. So let's talk about that. What was going on? When you go to colleges, you join fraternities and sororities, and sometimes I know for the Divine Nine, which is the Black, what is it, Hellenic Council?
Pan-Hellenic.
Pan-Hellenic Council. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's not called pledging anymore. It's going through the process.
The intake process.
Right. The intake process. When Kim and I were in undergrad, there was what they call above ground pledging, where you saw everybody in the trench coats, in the cheap stockings,
marching across campus.
Right, marching across campus. The brothers all had shaven heads, and every hair was shaved off their faces, with their trench coats and slacks, khaki or what have you, and shoes, walking in the line.
Matching outfits, right?
Right. They did away with that while I was in school. I think Kim's undergrad, she saw it all the way through. I think they got rid of it after 89. They got rid of it after 89. 89 was the last year they marched up on ground.
On where? At Morgan State?
Yeah, across the country.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and there were, we're going to get to the football, but there was hazing going on. Right. And so the band at the different institutions, there's hazing going on with the new folks that come in, and just like sports team, there are hazing going on. So this story is about the hazing that took place at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago, which is a prestigious institution.
Right.
And it was embarrassing. They fired a coach that was there 15 to 17 years. He claimed to know, like, I didn't know this stuff was going on. I still would fire you because if you don't know this is going on at your institution, you don't need to be at the institution. So there were reports of nudity, hazing, dry humping, and things of that nature. A lot of, I guess, like, I'm not stepping out of bounds when I would say this, homosexual hazing activities, even to those who are heterosexual, racial activities that were going on at this institution with the football, and then it spilled over to the baseball. Just horrific. Like, I don't understand. I guess you're under that much pressure. Like, if you don't let us dry hump you, you're going to lose your scholarship.
Well,
I guess I would have lost my scholarship.
Well, it was part of the culture, it seems like. And one of the players stepped up, Lloyd Yates.
Yates, yes.
And he was the one who
African American male.
Right. And he sued the university, and he came forward and basically said that sexual abuse was directed at male players because of their sex in an effort to, quote unquote, quote, break them, punish them, control them, or get them in line in violation of the Illinois Gender Violence Act. And Yates said the program was centered around a culture of sexual violence. And he said that players, as you said, were forced to do acts in the nude, and as punishment and initiation rituals, they were physically dry humped and he said this occurred while they were like 17 and 18 years old. And like you said, they were just trying to, from his perspective, as the quarterback on the football team at the time, they were just trying to fit in and make their mark in college sports. And he said, this is how you become accepted and earn respect from your teammates. You know what I mean? So that's why they sort of participated or felt the pressure to participate in these hazing activities. You know, and I mean, to me, first of all, kudos to him for, having the courage to speak up about what happened to him, because his description of what happened to him is humiliating. Like, he was humiliated. And for him to have enough courage to come forward and say, this is what happened to him, he deserves, respect and praise for that, I think. I'm glad this was uncovered too, so that they
my big question is, where is this coming from?
The hazing?
I can see the hazing. I can see hazing going on, and you punishing so-called freshmen that are coming on, but the type of activity they use to haze was difficult. To me, I guess more what is it called? I'm losing the word. More exercises, more training, and things of that nature. I can see that as hazing, which is not good, but people will look at that and say, okay, they got them to do more
suicides or something.
Yeah, what is it called?
Like,
calisthenics?
Calisthenics?
Calisthenics, yeah.
Okay.
That's an old gym word. But this other stuff, I'm like, why are you doing something that folks, they don't want to do or partake in that? It's just striking to me.
Well, I talked to my husband about this because Ryan he played football at UVA, and I asked him like, "Do you know of any of this type of stuff that happened when you were playing?" And he said nothing like that ever happened. The only thing he heard of was like taping people to goal posts and stuff like funny stuff.
Yeah.
And making people go get your favorite drink and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He said they didn't even have to do that. He heard of things like that happening. But for him, the only thing he can recall is like having to sing a fight song, like all the
carry somebody else's bags.
or something like that. Like nothing sexual. I don't think. First of all, he would have been like, no, I'm not doing
exactly.
that. I'm not doing that.
Exactly.
But you know what it reminds me of? This whole thing reminds me of a scene in one of my favorite movies, A Few Good Men. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
When Tom Cruise's character gets Jack Nicholson's character, to finally admit what was really going on. He was like, "Who ordered the code red?"
Yeah.
And he finally said, "I ordered the code red." And it showed that like,
"You damn right, I ordered the code red."
Right. Right. And I do it again because that's part of the culture. And that's the same thing here. Like the coaches cannot pretend like they didn't know what was going on. You knew what was going on. And you condone the behavior by allowing it to continue.
Yes.
So it's part of the culture. And so, that's why I'm glad he got fired. The head coach got fired.
And then the baseball coach got fired.
Right. Nobody believes you didn't know what was going on.
Right.
Like seriously.
Right.
Stop it. So kudos to the young. But the other thing I thought about, how is Ben Crump in it? Like he is everywhere.
Well, Ben Crump is a civil rights leader. So
I know, but is there any other civil rights attorneys in America?
Well,
is he the only one?
You get the person that's going to draw the most cameras to them. So he's going to spread it. He's the most prominent right now. Like, let's not hate on the brother, though.
I'm not hating on the brother, but can somebody else get some work?
Let's celebrate them, though. That's what we do to black folks sometimes.
Spread the love around. Spread the love around. Come on, Ben Crump. You got him.
Ben Crump ain't telling y'all not to look at others. He's just saying they chose me. You know how the game goes. Okay. That's all that is.
And let us move on.
All right. From one college situation to another one. This is Olivia. I want to say Dunne. It could be Dunne, but it seems like Dunne, who is a gymnast at LSU. She is very popular in social media. She has 11.9 million viewers.
Wow.
Her NIL, which is name, image, and likeness, she makes 3.4, which I believe is the highest of all college athletes per year. That's crazy. $3.4 million. It's gotten so bad that she cannot take face-to-face classes anymore. She has to
be escorted across campus.
She has to take online classes. She has to have 2 security guards with her, because she's getting approached by a lot of people. And yes, it's a lot to do with the dominant standards of beauty in this country. She's a white girl with light eyes and blonde hair, and but I think most people are coming after her because if you take a picture of her, like if you and I took a picture of her with pot liquor on the back, the views that we would get would be astronomical.
Okay, well then let's do it.
Yeah. I don't know the young lady.
You said if you ran into her, you might get a selfie, right?
Yeah, if I was going down to LSU trying to search out some young white girl, they'd lock me up.
Okay. Yeah. No, but that's what had been happening though when they were going to their gymnastics meets. Yeah. People would show up, like 200 guys would show up and be demanding to see Olivia Dunne because they were just like, fanatics. Like, you know what I mean? And so,
I think it's more
very distracting.
Yeah, it was, but it all comes with the territory.
But you know what? I think it's interesting that you don't hear a lot of, like, I haven't heard a lot about her athleticism or her success as a gymnast. And yet her valuation, as you said, is literally $2 million more than the next highest, which is Angel Reese. And of course, we know about Angel Reese because she got a natty, as your daughter would say, she got a natty, you know, that national championship. So we know that she's a superior, amazing athlete, but yet her NIL valuation is $2 million lower than Olivia Dunne. I mean, I'm not saying she's not a good, I'm not saying Olivia Dunne's not a good gymnast or anything. And yes, she is cute. She, you know, she's physically fit. She's cute and all that. She's a sports illustrator.
She's a white woman.
Yeah,
I'll say it straight out.
You think this is racism? See, I wasn't gonna go there.
I'll go straight there, and she knows it too. She's a white woman.
No, but then
white folks are the standard of beauty in the United States. They just are. Okay. Angel Reese is not African American women or other women are not the standard.
But I think they're fly, they're cute, they're, you know.
Yeah, Angel Reese is 6'3" also too.
But let me tell you another thing, because I went and checked out her social media, Olivia Dunne. I looked at her Instagram, and honestly, like, I'm not hating on her and everything, but it was like a thirst trap. Like, lots of, you know, provocative pictures, and like I said, she's cute, she's physically fit and all of that, but
it's not, I'm telling you, it's not a thirst trap. It's folks that's managing, telling her to take these type of photos and it's going to draw this type of attention. Huh?
Cassette sales?
Yeah, of course it does.
Okay, but here's where I'm going. Okay, because they say in order to maximize your NIL opportunities, you have to, first of all, be a winner. So you have to be an amazing athlete and you have to win, because that's going to attract.
That's not true though, because what was the young what was the young lady that played tennis? Sharapova? She won 2 championships, I believe. And Serena Williams at the time had won like 16. And Serena Williams was winning. Sharapova, I don't even think she had won one. It wasn't Shara, it was the other lady.
No, you're right. And I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. She was like a Wall Street darling.
Yeah, she just fit the mold.
Yeah. But you also have to be a social media influencer as well. You have to have
fit the mold. I'm never going to fit the mold. You know, I'm short, dark, and handsome. That's me. I'm old. I'm never going to fit the mold. Right? They looking for something else. If you fit that standard, which Olivia Dunne does, their companies are like, okay, we want to put our brand with her face and throw it out there because she has close to 12 million followers and viewers.
And that's what I'm saying. You also have to have the followers and viewers too. But so what do you think about a Shedeur Sanders or a Bronny James? You don't think they could get the same following and the same?
Nothing sells like a white woman. It's sad to say.
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it here.
Sounds like a white woman, and it's United States. And I, you know, I love my black woman definitely all day. You know, I was raised by one, grandmothers, everything. Love black women, but I'm just saying, in this country, the standard of beauty is white skin, light eyes, blonde hair, thin body, pale skin.
But from where I'm from, that's not what people like, but okay.
I'm from the same place you from. You know, as Jamie Foxx so eloquently put it one day, black men like their woman with a little bit more girth.
Oh yeah, they want to thicker than a sticker.
She has and I'm not being perverted. She has a little girth though, actually.
Well, I mean, she has a cute shape, but you know, there are black women who are a little more shapely.
Way more shapely. You know, they have the dimples in the cottage cheese, and I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
You can play I Like It Now. I like it.
Let us move on.
All right. Let's go to some praiseworthy news. We're happy for this young man.
Indeed.
He last week had cardiac arrest, was rushed to the hospital. He is the son of Savannah and LeBron James. He is LeBron James Jr., but everybody knows him as Bronny
Bronny.
James. But he's out of the hospital as we speak. He's been playing the piano and he's under watch. So they're just doing more tests to see if he can play this year at the University of Southern California. What were you thinking when you first heard this news?
When I first heard this, I was shocked. I was shocked that a college freshman athlete, as fit as Bronny James appears to be, how they could possibly have a heart attack. And of course, the speculation started with, oh, it's because he took the vaccine. Oh, it's because he's been on social media smoking weed and all of that stuff. So I was initially just flat out shocked. How could this happen? I mean, was there any sign that he had a heart condition, or you know what I mean? Because previously, all the other videos that we've seen on social media show his athletic prowess, show him dunking, all of his handles, his amazing basketball skills, and of course, his just physical fitness. It just seemed like he was, strong and just a well-conditioned athlete. And so for this to happen, I was just shocked. But then I was very happy to see that he pulled through.
Yes, I'm happy he pulled through too. At the same time, the durability of folks, it's not just the physical shape that somebody's in condition. We don't know what folks are putting into their bodies. And I'm not talking negative things. It could just be an energy drink or something like that. But thank God he is all right.
Did you believe any of the conspiracy theories?
For Bronny James? No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
didn't.
this was
This is
I
the
felt,
second USC player that suffered a cardiac arrest in the last 2 years.
so that sort of, raises an eyebrow and makes you think, like, what is going on? But I can kind of empathize with the family. This probably one of my favorite famous families. I love, Savannah, and I just love, I just love the family.
I mean, we have an outside picture of them, so we don't really know what's going on. You're
That's
happy
true.
when somebody stays out of the limelight for anything negative. Anybody that is in national media, and you know them because of a particular sports they play or they're entertainers, you kind of have some sort of connection with them because you see them every day. And as human beings, I think most of us who are good natured, you want the best for folks. And so
Right.
that's where my prayers will go out. If it was a friend back in the neighborhood and his son or daughter was suffering from cardiac arrest, I would have the same emotion. So I don't know LeBron James personally. I definitely have watched his career from high school to this point. And I
You want to
just
see them continue to
pray
do
they
well and
strength in the
be
Lord,
in
as
good
they
health,
said.
right?
Exactly. That's
I mean,
all.
but I just feel like as a parent who's about to send a child to college, I empathize with them having to uh, let your child go and live on a campus outside of your home, outside of your care and your watchful eye, and it causes a little bit of anxiety. And I know that they were probably comforted that Bronny decided to go to a college close to home, but then, they send him there and then this happens. It's like your worst nightmare. You know what I mean? So I
Well,
just send, love and good vibes to their family, and I hope they hang in there and push
yeah, I
through.
hope he gets to still play basketball, which is his passion and love. Because when your passion and love is taken away from you, a part of you, something inside of you kind of, I can't find a better, like, subside.
Guys,
Yeah,
I know you
I don't
didn't
want
want to
to
say
say
guys,
guys.
yeah. But I would imagine that LeBron sat his son down and said, listen, you don't have to do, we all know he doesn't have to do that because he has generational wealth for
Yeah,
all of
but
our family.
that's just money. But that goes to
Right.
show,
The
like,
passion
life is
yeah,
more than that. Like, you
right,
want to play. That's
right.
like if you a great singer and all of a sudden something happens to your throat, your voice, like the DOC, the rapper. Yeah, you still gonna make money because you can write rhymes for other people. But that joy that you were searching for, just that competition, that mano a mano on the basketball court, when that's taken away, there's no amount of money that can replace that.
That's true. And you mentioned he was playing the piano. We saw the video of him playing the piano. I know because I follow them on Instagram, but I noticed, did you notice in the video, you can hear LeBron in the background go, he's multi-talented. He has many talents. And what I took from that is it does not have to be basketball. We got other stuff you can do. So that's what I took from it. But again, just like you, I hope he's able to live out his passion and live out his dream if it's basketball.
Amen.
And let us move on.
Don't stop now.
Okay. Toyota
So
is the
today,
brand.
yes, I want to talk about something that I like and I can
Amen.
attest to as a reliable brand of car, Toyota. So, so yeah, this right here, this picture that you're looking at is the more recent model. I have a 2017. So mine, this is the newfangled fancy sport package model. I have, like I said, the 2017 model, which is still attractive. And I love it. I loved it so much. At first I had the 2014, but I wrecked that. And I love this car so much. I got the exact same car in the exact same color, gray. And I love it. I mean, I'm not a soccer mom. It's the minivan. I'm not a soccer mom, but I'm a baseball mom. So,
And football and basketball, Mom.
right, all of the above. I'm 50 some odd years old, and I've only had 4 cars in my life. My first car was a Nissan Pulsar, second car was a Mercedes, but my third and fourth cars were Toyota Siennas. I love this car. It's roomy, it's good on gas, even as a minivan. I can put regular gas in there. I can sit up high. I like sitting up high in the minivan. I'm used to being up high now. I've taken it on family vacations. You can fit lots of luggage in there. I think I have 7 seats, and I have the run flat tires, which is perfect for me because if you get a nail in your tire or it's never really flat. You can actually drive the tire with a nail in it or with a leak in it.
For about 50 miles.
For about 50 miles. That's true. And this just happened to me recently. I had to replace a couple of tires because of nails. So yeah, I love
run
this
flats.
car.
Tell the audience, run flats ain't cheap.
Oh no, they're not. On this car, they cost about $300 a piece, and then you got to pay for the installation. You can get a better deal if you get 4 at a time, but
And the throwaway, yeah, they get you.
But I like not having to. I'm never going to change a tire, like I said. So I like never having to carry a spare. I can get through it, get to the shop on my quote unquote flat tire and get it changed.
All right, so there you
Toyota
have.
Sienna. Listen, what's the tagline? Let's go places. I've been lots of places in my Toyota Sienna. Thank you very much.
And let us move on.
But I heard that some people don't like the way that little walk.
Okay, we have an extraordinary person coming on right now, and we are going to interview her. She is somewhat of a mentor to me. I am still proud of what she has done at the institution that I am employed by. She's an African American woman. Her name is Dr. Karen Butler-Purry. And so we welcome her aboard. Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Butler-Purry. How are you doing this wonderful day?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I wanted to tell you before we started, my partner, Kim Parker Jackson, is an alum of Howard University. She attended Howard University School of Law.
All right.
Right. So that's the commonality.
Well, I think I heard earlier she's also a Delta.
Oh, she's a Delta too.
So
that's
I'm a Delta. I'm celebrating. This is my 40th year.
Oh, okay. So what year? This is a long time for you too, Kim. Where are you? Like 30 something? You're on mute, Kim.
86.
86. So almost.
Okay, let me go back and say what I said. Welcome
37.
to Butler Podcast, Dr. Butler-Purry. Nice to meet you. Hello, Soror. HU.
Good to meet you.
Yes. So yeah, all of the above. Yes.
So before we get into it, just tell us a little bit about your background, so you can the audience can come familiar with who you are, like your academic credentials. I know folks don't like to brag and talk about it, but we just try to give our audience context, like who we are actually talking to.
Okay, so I'm actually a native of Louisiana. So I was born in a small town outside of Baton Rouge. So I did my undergrad at Southern University in Baton Rouge, and actually master's at UT Austin, and then my PhD at Howard. My degrees are in electrical engineering.
Wow.
And after I finished my PhD, I actually moved to College Station and began working at Texas A&M. And so I've been at Texas A&M now 28 years, I guess. And gone through the ranks. I'm a full professor. I've held some administrative positions. I guess recently I just finished leading the grad school for the past 12 years. And so I'm back to the faculty full time.
Wow.
Okay, so my connection with Dr. Butler-Purry is when I'm on a campus like Texas A&M, and I don't want to harp on this, but you don't see a lot of Black faces. And when she asked me to be on a couple of committees that she was in charge of, I was very, very proud to be in the room with her being the leader. I just looked at that as phenomenal, and I thought it was a great achievement. Not that we can't achieve these things, but I don't know. I guess I would have to tell you a little bit more about Texas A&M University for you to give a better understanding of what I mean. But lately, there's been some things going on at the collegiate level. One of them, the Supreme Court ruled against, voted against affirmative action. And that really is going to impact the lives of people of color attending predominantly white institutions, particularly Latinx people and African Americans. And we wanted to just put it out there to like, what are your thoughts, or what are the impacts that you see with this decision that was recently made?
Well, I think probably, as you know, we at Texas A&M wasn't directly impacted by this because we actually were not using race in admissions. So, we had, I guess, maybe in the early 2000s, the Hotwood decision, and then later the Fisher case. And so in the Fisher case, it said you had the option, but Texas A&M chose not to use race in admissions. So we actually weren't using it. So in terms of the institution being directly impacted from that, I don't think that's the case. But I think what one would expect is that the selective institutions that were using it, right, they will be looking for other ways to diversify, their student body, because I think they recognize the value of having a diverse student body. Um, I imagine then some of the individuals who will not be selected to go to those institutions because, I think it's hard maybe to have the same impact with the things that they're probably going to use. And so likely then we will have then fewer, African Americans attending those selective institutions, and then those students will, go to other institutions. Maybe, we might see an increase at HBCUs, as a result of that. We had an increase at HBCUs after the Floyd, incident. And so things are kind of like at an all-time high at HBCUs. But yeah, I think it's just sort of maybe it's a symbolic, blow first and foremost, right? Because I think it gives cover for then the places that don't want to do this, right? So
Yeah.
So so I was on the committee to help recruit minority graduate students to Texas A&M, and that was difficult, I guess, in itself. It was hard to carry out. What do you think the issues are with minority recruitments at PWIs?
I think it's pretty complex. I don't know. I always think about kind of my story. So I went to Southern. I grew up understanding some of the politics of Southern and LSU. And so when I graduated from Southern, I had a full ride to go to grad school at LSU, and I wouldn't go because of what I knew. But then I went to UT Austin. And so the reality is it has also a similar history to the history, of LSU. And so I think that, one of the challenges, for example, at, Texas A&M and recruiting students from Prairie View is the history, right, of those two institutions. So I think one of the challenges is, there is a history, and therefore, um, ancestors of those students sometimes are like, well, why do you want to go to that place? That years ago would not allow us, right? And so I think that's first, well, not the only, but that's one big challenge. And so if the institution is not presenting, this picture that they are welcoming and inclusive, then it's easy, to have others tell you that that's not a place, that wants you, to be there. So I think that's one of the challenges. I think another challenge is, when you are likely to experience, isolation because there is so few during the time that you matriculate. For some students, that's going to be really a serious barrier, right, to overcome. And so I think the small numbers makes it hard also, right, to recruit students, because you have to then, perhaps know that you can go and you can, survive, thrive, through an experience where you may be the only student who looks like you, in your classes and other kinds of things like that. So that's another, challenge in really, trying to increase the numbers. And then I think that, there is a lot of unconscious bias, right? For faculty who have not, or staff who have not actually engaged with, African American students in particular, they have sometimes, unconscious bias, and sometimes, perhaps a student maybe, not performing well on something to them means something greater than the fact that just perhaps they didn't know that thing. They may see that as really representing the fact that they probably, that they don't belong there. So I think that's another, big challenge, is because, some maybe faculty and staff haven't had a multitude of experience in engaging with us. They may not believe that we, have the capability to be there to succeed and stuff like that. And it's really difficult sometimes to succeed in a place where somebody really doesn't believe that you can succeed, right? So I don't know. It's a lot of different reasons, I think, and that's, I guess, why. I don't know. I think the changes have been incremental, in terms of overcoming that, is because it's pretty complex and it takes a systematic approach to deal with it. And a lot of times that's not the approach that's being done. It's usually some one-off things that happen.
And even if you believe that training could help turn that around, that unconscious bias around, you can't even engage in that type of training anymore because of the recent legislation that
Right.
has done away with those types of programs, the
Right.
DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially in states like Texas and Florida.
Right.
So it just shows that those schools aren't even making a good faith effort to change those things that may keep minority students from feeling welcomed at those types of predominantly white institutions, unfortunately.
I definitely think this is, that the state laws are a serious blow, because I think that universities had really started to invest in understanding, that you needed a systematic approach, and recognizing, for example, that offices of diversity were important, to take the lead and then to try to coordinate the things that might be happening in departments and colleges and stuff like that, to have greater impact, and to do away, with these types of offices, and also, the resources, to do some of the work and stuff like that. I think it's definitely it's a setback, and I really don't know yet, what's how we're going to counter that. I definitely know that, there's a lot of conversations going on all across the country, and how do we now continue to move forward, given these big blows in the various states and stuff like that. But yes, I don't know, for many, maybe universities, at least in the states that have passed these, this is, maybe even a bigger blow than the Supreme Court decision.
That's a good point. That's a great point. And you also mentioned the history of some of these universities that can sort of discourage minority students from wanting to attend. I think schools like Georgetown have taken the lead with sort of acknowledging that history and trying to make amends for it. And where Georgetown admitted that they had sold 272 slaves, enslaved people, to keep the university afloat. And now they're trying to make amends for that. And I think when you see that happening, I think that gives some reassurance to, Black and other students of color, that they could be welcome there. When you see that the school is making a good faith effort to turn things around.
Right. I do think that, admitting to the truth is extremely important, right? And then, of course, accepting responsibility for it by then deciding, to put some of your resources to, try to make some amends for it, is really good. And there are, a few universities that are doing that. Yeah.
But I don't see that happening in Texas or Florida, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's so complicated. I don't know. I don't know how the truth is important, right? We can't. And that's what the history is really, really important for us to continue to perpetuate. Right.
Indeed.
So, hold on one second. So So another decision was the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now at Texas A&M University, just 2 years ago, I was on this diversity. It was a campus-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. There were a lot of Black folks that were skeptical about the committee, saying like, we've done this before. The university is not going to do anything with it.
Wow.
And, I was pepped up and gung ho, but surely enough, when the decisions were written up and forwarded, nothing really was put into place from that committee. And then now DEI is no longer needed. There's a lot going on in this state of Texas. What say you about the DEI approach and how that is now removed?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think, as we were, kind of discussing, I do think this is a big deal. I think probably partnerships are going to be the way, at least one way that universities are going to try to continue to, to have the progress that they had. I think if you go back to, so after, the decision that said we couldn't use race in admissions and in scholarships, sort of in Texas, and they went to, the top 10%, right, which was sort of an attempt to have diversity, in, certain institutions in Texas. The thought was, that there are, quite a few schools in the state of Texas that are predominantly minority. And, if you, got the top 10% from those schools, then you would, sort of somehow be able to achieve some of the diversity that you want. But, we are many years later and we know the numbers are still not there, right? And so it's very hard to probably counter something, like systematic racism, to counter with something very subtle, right? If you don't do something blatant, right, to counter something, a lot of times you can't be successful. So it's like, if you can't decide that you're going to focus on the element that was the reason for the exclusion, how can you really, really, really counter it in some substantial way? So I do think it's going to be very hard.
So I do have a question, and I can ask both of you this. As Black people that work at a predominantly white institution, for Dr. Butler-Purry, you have been an educational administrator as well as a professor in the classroom, correct?
Yes.
I'm curious as to, first of all, which one do you enjoy the most? And then secondly, where do you think you could have the most impact, if you will, as far as being diverse employees at a predominantly white institution? Where can you have the greatest impact?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think I think that you definitely, so one of the things I enjoyed when I was leading the graduate school is that I, had the opportunity then to make decisions. I control resources, so I could direct resources toward, initiatives that I wanted to, try to implement. And so certainly, I think an administrative role provides you the opportunity to have, broader impact than the one-on-one type of thing. But I will tell you, so when I came to Texas A&M, I wasn't sure I wanted to work at a PWI. But when I got there, I realized that there were students who looked like me, and somebody had to be there for those students who looked like me. And then also, if we wanted to change the vision that people had for people who looked like me, then I needed to be somebody who looked like me there. And so, I stayed there. I decided to stay there and work. And, I feel like Texas A&M takes money from people all over the state, and African Americans deserve to be there. And so I wanted to be, someone there to help. be a part of that success. And so there is sort of, personally, the impact of one-on-one helping to be that person, for the student who maybe they just need to come into your office, close the door, and tell you what's going on. They don't need you to fix it for them, but they just need somebody to then say, yes, I understand what you're saying. What you're seeing and feeling is real, right? And then they walk out the door and then they go on, right? Mm-hmm. So I think, as a faculty member, I don't know, I have the ability to kind of be the person who can sort of help the individuals. But yes, I think in an administrative role, you have the opportunity to impact policies, the impact, at much greater, in terms of initiatives and things like that. So it's hard to decide, which, which is more important, right?
Or has the greatest impact.
Or saving, right? Yeah.
Right. So, because it's important for you to be seen by those students,
right.
And it's more hands-on, as I would imagine, as a professor versus an administrator, which many people a lot of times don't even see that much on a college campus because they're in the office, they're making policy decisions from up on high, if you will.
Right. Well, the thing is that we have to have the individuals be successful until we end up having greater numbers. So there needs to be the Shantae Anderson graduating with a PhD before eventually we might have more Shantae, Andersons at Texas A&M, right? So somebody has to help those who chose to come and persevere through, right, the climate and the environment and stuff like that. So.
And which one did you enjoy the most? Can you say? Can
I enjoy both of them. I mean, I'm still there because I really feel like, I've been able to do some good things. So I have to say both have been equally enjoyable.
Yeah.
If you're asking me, I haven't been in administration, so it's definitely the classroom. But, I teach at a HBCU too. One is more rewarding than the other. And I don't mean that as a slight at Texas A&M. I just think the students at Texas A&M, regardless of their race and their ethnicity, are a little ahead of majority of the students at Texas Southern University. But when I say it's more rewarding, to go in to any institution, whether it be a junior college, and really help a young man or a young woman or a young non-binary student to change their mindset around and make them believe and make them confident in their academic efficacy is just remarkable, and it's touching. Mm-hmm. So it's a reward. It's just like, okay, you see a person going from A to B. Wherein as Texas A&M, a lot of them might already come in equipped. Now, mind you, I'm talking about like lower classes, like, not 400, like 100 courses, like students that are taking freshman courses. Some students come in and they're prepared. I just need to give them instructions and they're like, boom. But there are other students, that you need to guide them and hold their hand through the process. And I'm okay with that because I'm a product of 2 HBCUs. But Texas A&M might be hard because sometimes it's just location. I don't want to live in College Station. There are not enough Black folks or minorities around. Simple as that. I remember we were recruiting a student. She got accepted into LSU, and she got accepted into Texas A&M. And I remember at lunch, I told her in front of everybody there, I said, Baton Rouge is different than College Station. And my white colleagues looked at me and they knew exactly what I was talking about. It's just that simple. Some students, African-American students, that doesn't care. Like, they can ingratiate themselves in any circle. When I was young, I felt the same way. But when you get a little older, like I'm a little older, I'm like, I need to be around folk. Simple as that. Yeah. And people who don't understand when I say folk, I mean Black people. That's what I mean.
No, we know what you mean.
Right. So I like I said, I enjoy teaching anybody, all those that are willing to learn. I'm a willing participant. and I will meet you where you want to be met. But administration, I wouldn't mind taking on, and also administration pays more.
Well, I will say that I think that Black people need to be everywhere. We need to be at PWIs, we need to be at HBCUs. And so I would like to thank both of you for just being there.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Karen Butler-Purry. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your knowledge. And like I said, you do great things at Texas A&M. You're definitely uplifting to me. And, you know, I'm just trying to follow in your footsteps. Like, you know, you, Dr. Means Coleman, who's at Northwestern actually now, and she's dealing with that whole hazing thing over there. But it's good to see folks that look like you in positions, leadership positions, because it does give you that, you know, that impetus or that charge or that, hey, she's doing it. There's a possibility I can do it too. So thanks for coming on and sharing your point of views. And we hope to have you on in the near future.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. And great to meet you, Kim.
And you as well.
Yeah. Take care.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that's Butler-Purry.
She's had an amazing career.
Yes, she has. And she is.
That's how we do.
Let us move on. And let us move on.
We have a question. It's a question. Address the question. This is a question. So what's the question? Answer the question. Yes, so this is question 27. We might do away with this after question 30. We're not getting a lot of responses. I don't know if I should have put that out there that way.
Hey, we just real with it. It is what it is.
Okay.
Maybe we'll ask like a different type of question that you and I can talk about as opposed to.
The question of the week is, if you have a bowl with 6 apples and you take 4, how many do you have? If you have a bowl with 6 apples and you take 4, how many do you have? Last week, the question was, if a plane crashed between the United States and Canada, where do they bury the survivors? And you say, Ken, where did they bury the survivors?
Nowhere, because you can't bury survivors. They're still living.
Amen. Okay. So, like I said again, if you have a bowl with 6 apples and you take 4, how many do you have? And you can respond to potlickershow@gmail.com. Provide us with the answers, and we'll take it from there. All right.
And let us move on.
All right. We got a little self-therapy playing in the background. But we're going to go into our topic talk. Kim is going to start us off, and she is going to tell us everything that happened, and I'm going to come back and jump in. So this is topic talk, and this week, Cam Newton's situation with his ex-girlfriend.
Right. So this was Cam Newton, who is a quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. And he is now suing his 4 children's mom. He had 4 children with this woman. Her name is Kia, I believe. And he's suing her to get back the 2017 Bentley Bentayga that she was driving when she was living with him. And, you know, they were living together for several years. They never got married, but the relationship basically went sour when Cam Newton apparently had a baby with an Instagram model. And, you know, we can all understand, you know, you step out, you have an affair, you know, we can get over that. Nobody's going to know. We can forgive
Some of us
an
can.
affair. Yeah. Some people can forgive an affair. But when you actually have a baby on somebody, that's not going to go well. So
Have
they
a
ended up
baby by me, be a millionaire.
I know. Okay, 50 Cent. But so they broke up and she moved out, but she took the Bentley Bentayga, which is the SUV crossover Bentley vehicle. Took it with her and she won't give it back. So he now has to sue to get it back. And the car is in his name. And he's claiming that he just let her drive it, let her take the kids back and forth. And they have 4 children. Let her take the kids back and forth to school or go get groceries or what have you. And so when she left, she said, this is my car. I earned this car. I'm keeping it. And yeah, not cool. I think yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
it's not cool what she did or what he's asking for.
I just think I would handle this differently. And first of all, let me state another fact, which is he's paying child support to the tune of approximately $15,000 a month.
50 or 15?
$15,000 a month, which is nothing to sneeze at. Technically, if she wanted to get get her own, she could give him the old one, she could get a newer one. You know, it's a 2017. She could get like a 2020 or a 2020, 2023 if she wanted to. I think
that's $180,000 a year. Non-tax.
Right.
I'm totally against Cam on this one. And just for the reason I can see if I can't, but I can see if she didn't have any kids by you, but she got 4 kids.
What are they going to ride
So
in?
he's trying to say, well, you can get another car like a Toyota Sienna. No diss. Right?
Listen,
You can get a Toyota Sienna to get around because, as my partner says, it works well.
It's very reliable.
Right. So, but I don't know his financial situation. He's no longer playing football right now. I don't know if he still owed money by some football teams. He does have a podcast, and I'm sure that's doing pretty well.
His last team was Carolina Panthers. He was a quarterback for Carolina.
Yeah, he was with the Patriots, and he just went back to Carolina.
Okay.
So he's a former MVP. He went to the Super Bowl and lost, but he was a good quarterback in the NFL. He had a nice little run.
He took a lot of abuse.
It has nothing to do with his football talents. It's just, this is all relational. I think Cam, just let her have the SUV. Okay, it's a Bentley. But you would have to look at it to tell like it's a Bentley because it looks like the X5 or the Audi. It looks similar to those.
Mm-hmm.
On the outside looking in, but then you pull up, you're like, oh wow, that's a Bentley. But
the car is worth like probably $100,000 now.
4 kids.
I think
on it?
brand new is like 200 and something. I think.
Yeah, I can't say I was checking out that whip.
But how would you feel if you're Cam and your children's mother kept the car and she has a new boyfriend and the new boyfriend is driving the car? You're okay with that?
Yes, because you asking the wrong person. Like, I'm not getting upset if my girlfriend or ex-wife or ex-girlfriend chooses a new guy. That is life. It's going to happen.
But riding in your car?
I don't care about that long as he's a responsible driver, and if he's responsible with picking up my kids and bringing them home. If he does his job, then salute, brother. Fine.
Okay, but can you understand why Cam Newton wouldn't like that?
I understand why jealous people are like that. Yeah, like people who
So
are
you
in
saying
this
Cam
show.
Newton is jealous?
I don't know why you would get upset with that situation. She's moved on. I would look at the truck as her possession and she can do whatever she wants with it. When you were with her, you gave her it. So now is it like, I don't know if this is racial, so forgive me to all my natives, like you being an Indian giver.
Oh, no, you didn't. That's racist.
Is it?
Take it back.
Okay. I take that back. My apologies for that. I don't really grasp the concept. I thought that
the concept of what?
Like the Indian giver, like they give it and they take it back. Are they taking it back because it's properly theirs? I don't know. So
but the point is that the term has a negative connotation to it. So you don't want to attribute that to
I know, but what
race.
is the negative connotation? I never, school me on that. Any of my fellow natives.
Native Americans are the only people that would take something and give something and take it back.
But I thought they were taking it back for reasons.
Well, the implication on the term is that you properly gave someone something
and then
because you, as a gift, because you wanted them to have it. If you give someone as a gift, if you give someone something as a gift, it's wrong to take it back. It was a gift.
I think it's illegal.
So a person that would do that is not a good person. So it's a negative connotation, and to attribute it to
that's not a good thing. We can't say they're not a good person. We can say what they're doing is not a good thing. Because there's anger in this. Again. No, it isn't. Because I said
just like you saying that racist people. That if you make a racist statement, you don't necessarily have to be
racist, right? Because you labeling something that you don't do is habitual. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. We all do that. And so
you think there's a situation where if you've given someone something as a gift, it's okay to take it back?
I think so. I think if you give somebody an engagement ring and they go out and they cheat on you and they mess around on you, they don't deserve that ring. Now, if you go cheat on them, the giver of the ring cheats, then then the other person should get it. But I think the culprit is responsible of returning the gift.
But can I just
who received the gift?
Okay, that makes sense. What you're saying, that makes sense. But the engagement ring is a different issue because it's a conditional gift. So I'm giving you this ring conditioned upon us getting married.
It's the same thing with the car. I'm giving you the car with the.
If you don't get married, you don't get to keep the ring.
It's the same thing with the car. But what I'm saying, Cam, if you're going to keep your kids, take the car back. If you're not, give her the car.
Minute. How is it the same thing with the car? So he said, I'm giving you this car to drive as long as we're in a relationship. Who does that?
I'm saying if she leaves you, Cam, 9 times out of 10, she's going to get the offspring. Your kids need to be chauffeured around. So yeah, the mother should get something. You should make sure the mother is comfortable. Like, this is what I'm saying. Weak men, like, to me, I don't care what they've done to you. They're still responsible for your kids.
Right. And your children need somewhere to live. So
Right.
it makes
And
sense that
and a
she would
place
take
to
that
get around.
$15,000.
Exactly.
Right. And pay for her mortgage or rent. And then the kids need something to ride around in. So yeah, that makes sense.
That's in the Cam Newton situation because we think he has the income or the amount of money. But if we're talking about me, it's a
The
little
average Joe.
the average Joe. Yeah, it's a little homie. Run that Bentley back, I'll sell it, and you go out and get you a Sienna plantation, Sienna Toyota for about $27,000 or $33,000.
You didn't say run me my Bentley back, did you?
Yeah, run it back.
But see, the thing that I think hurts her here is that the car is in his name. If someone is giving me a car, then I think I'm gonna, require that the title be in my name. Now you can make the payments, but if you're giving me something, I'm gonna be like, excuse me, can you put that in my name? Like,
I get that, but I don't think at the time she got the car, she was thinking about that because she had kids and they were in love.
But don't you think that's evidence that he wasn't really giving her the car? If it's in his name,
no,
he was letting her use it.
If it's a surprise, how you gonna put it in her name?
Okay.
So
she doesn't have to be there for him to put it in her name, though. You can put it in someone else's name.
I get what you're saying, but what I'm just saying, it's like,
yeah. Not cool. I hope they resolve this fighting over a car. And I mean, what are they going to do with like all the designer bags he probably bought for her, all the Rolex watches he probably bought for her, the diamond earrings, the diamond necklace, the diamond bracelet? Man, all that happened.
What if you brought it and gave it to her? Just give it to her.
I know.
Yeah. With that being said,
and let us move on.
Like this. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Never say die.
So today we want to highlight as our little known Black history fact, James Forten was born on September 2nd, 1766 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was a successful businessman with a bustling business that employed both Black and white workers, and he was one of the wealthiest Philadelphians of his time, of any race. He used his position and half of his considerable fortune to fight slavery and to demand civil rights for African Americans, including purchasing the freedom of others, supporting anti-slavery journalism, and founding a school. He was a tireless activist who helped to organize the American Anti-Slavery Society. James Forten, our little known Black history fact.
And let us move on.
All right, our last plug of the day is always our podcast plug. Black Men Can't Jump is the podcast, and Black Men Can't Jump is a comedic podcast that reviews films with leading actors of color and analyzes them in the context and race of Hollywood's diversity issue, hosted by Jonathan Braylock, Jera Milligan, and James the Third. Black Men Can't Jump is an iTunes Editor's Choice podcast and has reached number 2 on the iTunes Film TV charts. Black Men Can't Jump has also been covered by multiple websites, including the Huffington Post, Splitsider, Salon, the Daily Dot, and more. So we're going to give it up to Black Men Can't Jump.
Well, all right.
Let us move on.
Oh, hell no.
We always do this 2 times.
Oh, hell no.
Okay, here we're in New Bern, Alabama, where white folks just don't want the new mayor, Patrick Braxton, to take office. What the hell is going on?
Tell me about it. This is just flat out crazy. What is happening? This man, he became the first Black mayor of New Bern, Alabama, when he was elected in 2020. But since and this is in a town that's 85% Black. This man has spent his money campaigning. He did everything he was supposed to do. He registered, did everything right, and became the mayor. And the people won't let him mayor. They just won't let him be the mayor. They literally locked him out of town hall. This is just crazy. And it just reminds me of, doesn't this sound like something that Donald Trump would do? This is the influence of Donald Trump, to think that you can just subvert the will of the people. The people have voted this man into office in this 85% Black town. And then you're like, I don't care what the people said. You are not going to be the mayor. We don't want no Black mayor in this town. Like, are you serious?
I call this reniggalous.
That was good.
It
That
makes no sense
This is
what these
crazy.
folks are doing. This man won fair and square, and
Fair
they
and square.
keeping him out. And the thing about it's 85%. Come on, Black folks now. Come on, man. 85 to 15. Now, all of y'all ain't got cardiac arrest down there. All of y'all ain't eating chitlins. Y'all need to stand up and fight for Mayor Patrick Braxton. You know.
Yeah, it sounds like apartheid South Africa, where you have a few white people controlling everything. Like, seriously. So after years of racist harassment and intimidation, he decided, he got fed up. He filed a federal civil rights lawsuit, and he's accusing town officials of conspiring to deny his civil rights and his position because of his race. And I hope he wins, because y'all crazy.
That is well said.
And let us move on.
Give it up, give it up, give it up, yo. Give it up, give it up, gotta give it up, give it up.
All right, we got a lot of people to give it up to this week. First, we're going to start off with, let's give it up to Jaylen Brown's new contract, making him the richest player in NBA history. He signed a $304 million contract, which will be paid over 5 years. He'll get $31 million this year, coming up 31.5, I should say. I don't want to leave out that 0.5 because that 0.5 is $500,000, which I don't make a year. All right. Then the following year, he'll make $52 million. And in his third year, he'll be making 69 point something million dollars. So,
Wow.
you know, that deserves.
And you know what? He's wearing lucky number 7. Lucky number 7. Yes.
That is
Good for him.
That is what he is getting.
Money,
So big up to Jaylen Brown. We just gonna let this ride for a little bit. Next up is Olivia Pichardo. Olivia Pichardo is a young lady who plays baseball at Brown University Division I with the men, not the women. And I'm not saying the women are inferior, but she plays baseball with the men. She hit a home run over the last weekend. So we're going to give it up to Olivia
Pichardo.
Amen. Pichardo. You know, hopefully one day we can see women playing in the major leagues. And lastly, we're giving it up to President Biden for signing an act that will put an Emmett Till monument. I don't know where they're placing this actually. Where are they placing it?
So the monument, which is the fourth national monument designated by the Biden administration, will span 3 sites in Illinois and Mississippi that hold historical importance to the story of Emmett Till's life and the events surrounding his racially motivated murder in 1955.
Yes.
So the monument sites encompass the Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ in Bronzeville, a historically Black neighborhood in Chicago where Till's funeral service took place. And they also include the Grayball Landing Site, Graball, Grayball Landing Site, where his body was believed to be discovered, and the courthouse in
Mississippi.
Tallahatchie, Mississippi, where his killers were acquitted of murder. And then they later, confessed to it in a paid interview in Look magazine.
They got $4,000 for that.
And they knew they couldn't be tried again because of double jeopardy. Isn't that just terrible? And so he would have been 82 this year on the day that Biden signed the proclamation. So
yeah,
this is great. I think it's great.
He was a year older than my dad.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I like what Vice President Kamala Harris said at the Delta Convention in Indianapolis. She said, "Let us not be seduced into believing that somehow we will be better if we forget." So I'm happy to see, I think it's good that we'll have a monument now to keep us in remembrance of what happened during this seminal moment in our history. Sing it.
In remembrance. You don't know that song?
No, sing some more.
That's all the choir sings.
You know what? I think you should play Dr. York's her song.
Oh yeah, we'll play a little bit of that.
But I think you should play it when you can put it up on the screen so we can see it and hear it. Can you do that? You can't do that right now, can you?
But we can hear a little bit of it.
Okay, put it directly into the mic, please, so I can hear. And we can praise him on this beautiful Sunday.
Forget your problems, it's time to spend. Have a good time.
And what was the name of your church?
It's a church without walls.
Church Without Walls.
Without walls. Yeah, she did her thing today. I stayed for both services actually.
And she
At 10 o'clock.
let me find out. She hit us with the James Brown though. She left and came back. She hit us with the drop the mic and then came back.
The second time they sang it, they kind of cut it at the end because I thought they were short on time, but the band kept playing, so she came on back. And,
she hit her with the James Brown with the cake.
Being in the audience, they really enjoyed her, and it was good to see her. Like after services, folks coming up to her saying, "You did that thing, girl."
Mm-hmm. She ministered.
I was proud of what she did. I'm always supportive.
And let me find out, Dr. A, that she was not only singing, she was directing the choir at the same time. I saw the little hand motion like.
She was just making gestures kind of like to coincide with the lyrics.
Oh, it looked like she was like.
The choir sings,
Like, right.
Yeah. She's
directing her background. Oh, well, you better go on and let them use you, girl. Let them use you. That was amazing.
That was off camera. Hey, let's come back later. We're gonna wrap up the show right now. All right. Thanks for hanging in there with us today, folks. As always, I'll go through our plugs first. We did Vaseline Intensive Care Cocoa Butter. We did the Toyota Sienna, which my partner drives and she loves. We did the Black Men Can't Jump podcast. Words of Wisdom was by Stephen Decote from South Africa. The oppressor's most potent weapon is the mind of the oppressed. What's going on? Our 4 stories today was how colleges are going to factor race in without asking about race. Northwestern football hazing. LSU Olivia Dunne needs for security around her on campus. And Bronny James cardiac arrest. We interviewed Dr. Karen Butler-Purry from Texas A&amp University. Weekly question of the week was, if you have a bowl with 6 apples and you take 4, how many do you have? Our topic talk was Cam Newton suing his ex-girlfriend to try to get his Bentley back. And little known Black History facts was James Fortin. I all hell no went to New Bern, Alabama, not Alabama. New Bern, Alabama, against Patrick Braxton, who is the mayor. And we gave it up to Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics, his new contract. Olivia Pichardo, the student from Brown University who plays on the men's baseball team. And President Biden for signing the Emmett Till National Monument. So that is it for today. And as always, we leave you with.
Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your busy schedules to hang out with us. And as always, in parting, we wish you love, peace, and soul.
And so, y'all, we will see y'all next week. Peace.